People who have gone through constant stress often develop heightened emotional awareness as a survival mechanism. Their minds become trained to scan the environment for potential threats, even in situations that are objectively safe. This constant vigilance can make them highly perceptive and intuitive, but it can also lead to exhaustion and difficulty relaxing. Over time, the brain learns to prioritize speed over depth, favoring rapid emotional responses rather than reflective thinking. Emotional regulation in chronically stressed individuals is frequently complex and contradictory. On one hand, they may appear emotionally controlled or even detached, having learned to suppress feelings to function under pressure. On the other hand, suppressed emotions can resurface unexpectedly, leading to sudden emotional overwhelm. This pattern reflects an internal conflict between the need for control and the natural need for emotional release. Memory and concentration are often deeply affected by prolonged stress. Many individuals report difficulties focusing, forgetfulness, or a sense of mental fog. This is not a lack of intelligence or effort, but rather the brain's adaptation to continuous survival mode. Cognitive resources are redirected toward threat management, leaving fewer resources available for sustained attention or creative thinking. Decision-making also changes under constant stress exposure. People may become highly cautious, overanalyzing choices to avoid negative outcomes, or conversely, they may develop impulsive tendencies as a way to escape prolonged mental strain. Both patterns are rooted in the brain's attempt to minimize perceived danger, even when the danger is no longer present. Emotional numbness is another common psychological adaptation. When stress is unrelenting, the nervous system may dampen emotional responses to protect the individual from burnout. While this numbness can be functional in the short term, it often leads to a reduced sense of joy, connection, and meaning in everyday life. Self-perception is frequently altered by constant stress. Individuals may internalize the belief that they must always endure, perform, or stay strong, equating rest with weakness. This mindset can foster resilience, but it can also prevent self-compassion and hinder recovery once the stressful conditions end. People who have lived under continuous stress often develop a strong inner narrative focused on responsibility and control. They may feel personally accountable for outcomes beyond their influence, a belief shaped by environments where mistakes carried high consequences. This cognitive pattern can persist long after the original stressors disappear. Anxiety in these individuals is often less about specific fears and more about a generalized sense of unease. The body remembers stress even when the mind tries to move on. This creates a disconnect where individuals intellectually understand that they are safe, yet emotionally feel on edge. Creativity and imagination may also be impacted. For some, constant stress restricts creative expression, as the mind prioritizes practicality and efficiency. For others, creativity becomes a coping mechanism, offering mental escape and emotional processing when reality feels overwhelming. Despite these challenges, many people who have endured constant stress develop remarkable psychological strengths. They often possess deep empathy, emotional intelligence, and the ability to remain composed under pressure. These traits reflect not just survival but complex cognitive and emotional adaptation. Behaviorally, individuals shaped by constant stress often display high levels of self-reliance. Having learned that support was inconsistent or unavailable, they may struggle to ask for help even when it is needed. Independence becomes both a strength and a barrier, reinforcing isolation despite a desire for connection. Trust issues are common in interpersonal relationships. Continuous stress, especially when caused by unstable environments or relationships, can teach individuals that safety is temporary. As a result, they may remain emotionally guarded, carefully measuring how much of themselves they reveal to others. Communication styles are frequently influenced by past stress. Some individuals become exceptionally clear and direct, having learned that misunderstandings once had serious consequences. Others may avoid confrontation entirely, associating conflict with emotional or psychological danger. People who have experienced chronic stress often become highly sensitive to others' moods and behaviors. This hyperattunement allows them to anticipate emotional shifts and adapt quickly, but it can also lead to people-pleasing tendencies and emotional overextension. Boundaries can be difficult to establish and maintain. Many individuals oscillate between rigid boundaries and none at all, unsure how to protect themselves without pushing others away. This inconsistency often reflects earlier experiences where boundaries were either violated or punished. Work and productivity often take on heightened importance. Constant stress can condition individuals to equate worth with performance, making rest feel uncomfortable or undeserved. Even in healthier environments, they may push themselves beyond reasonable limits. Relationships may feel simultaneously essential and threatening. While connection offers relief and validation, it also introduces vulnerability. This tension can result in cycles of closeness and withdrawal, confusing both the individual and those around them. Conflict tends to trigger intense reactions, even when the disagreement is minor. The nervous system responds based on past experiences rather than present reality, leading to defensive behaviors that may seem disproportionate to the situation. Despite relational challenges, people shaped by constant stress are often deeply loyal. Once trust is established, they tend to invest fully and protect relationships with great care. Their commitment is rooted in an understanding of how fragile safety can be. Over time, with awareness and supportive environments, these behavioral patterns can soften. Understanding the origins of these behaviors allows individuals to replace survival-driven responses with more balanced and intentional ways of relating to others. The long-term psychological impact of constant stress often extends far beyond the stressful period itself. Even after external pressures are removed, the body and mind may continue operating as if danger is imminent. Healing therefore requires not only cognitive insight but also nervous system regulation. Many individuals struggle with rest and stillness during recovery. Silence and calm can feel unfamiliar or even threatening, as the mind has grown accustomed to constant stimulation. Learning to tolerate peace becomes a gradual and intentional process. Identity reconstruction is a major part of healing. People may question who they are outside of survival mode, productivity, or endurance. This exploration can feel destabilizing, but it also opens space for self-discovery and personal growth. Emotional processing often emerges in waves. Feelings that were postponed for survival reasons may surface unexpectedly, sometimes years later. This delayed emotional response is a normal aspect of recovery, not a sign of regression. Physical symptoms frequently accompany psychological healing. Chronic stress leaves imprints on the body, manifesting as tension, fatigue, or unexplained discomfort. Addressing these symptoms holistically supports deeper emotional healing. Self-compassion is often one of the most challenging skills to develop. Many individuals hold themselves to harsh standards shaped by past necessity. Learning to treat oneself with kindness can feel unnatural, yet it is central to long-term recovery. Therapeutic relationships play a crucial role in healing. Consistent, safe emotional connections help retrain the nervous system and challenge deeply ingrained beliefs about trust and safety. Over time, new relational experiences can reshape old patterns. Meaning-making is another essential aspect of psychological recovery. People often seek to understand how their experiences shape them and how to integrate those lessons without remaining defined by pain. This process transforms suffering into insight. Resilience developed through constant stress does not disappear during healing. Instead, it evolves. Strength becomes less about endurance and more about flexibility, self-awareness, and emotional balance. Ultimately, the psychology of people who have gone through constant stress is marked by complexity rather than damage. Their minds reflect adaptation, intelligence, and survival. With support and understanding, these adaptations can be reshaped into sources of wisdom, depth, and emotional strength. After prolonged exposure to constant stress, one of the most profound psychological challenges is rebuilding a sense of identity that is not rooted in survival. Many individuals realize that much of who they became was shaped by necessity rather than choice. Their preferences, goals, and even personality traits were often adaptive responses to pressure. When the stress diminishes, this survival-based identity can feel hollow, leaving a deep sense of uncertainty about who they truly are. This identity confusion is not a weakness, but a natural consequence of long-term adaptation. The mind learned to prioritize endurance, alertness, and functionality, often at the expense of self-exploration. As a result, people may struggle to answer simple questions about what they enjoy, what they want, or what brings them fulfillment. Rediscovering these aspects requires patience and permission to explore without urgency. Meaning-making becomes central during this phase. Individuals often feel compelled to understand why they went through prolonged stress and what purpose it served in their lives. Without meaning, the experience can feel like wasted suffering. With meaning, however, it can be integrated as a source of depth, empathy, and insight rather than ongoing pain. A common psychological shift involves redefining strength. Under constant stress, strength was equated with endurance, silence, and emotional suppression. In healing, strength begins to take a different form, one that includes vulnerability, rest, and emotional honesty. This redefinition can feel uncomfortable, as it contradicts deeply ingrained beliefs formed during stressful periods. Inner stability is another critical area of development. Chronic stress destabilizes the nervous system, making emotional balance fragile. Even small disruptions can trigger disproportionate reactions. Building inner stability requires consistent experiences of safety, predictability, and emotional validation, often over long periods of time. People often discover that their relationship with control needs to change. Constant stress teaches that control equals safety, leading to rigid planning and resistance to uncertainty. Healing involves learning to tolerate uncertainty without panic, trusting that discomfort does not automatically lead to danger. This shift allows for greater flexibility and psychological freedom. Self-trust is frequently damaged by prolonged stress, especially when individuals were forced to ignore their own needs or intuition to survive. Rebuilding self-trust means learning to listen to internal signals again, even when they feel unfamiliar or unreliable. Over time, this process restores confidence in one's own judgment and emotional responses. Another significant challenge is learning to experience joy without guilt. Many people who endured constant stress feel uneasy when things are calm or pleasurable, as if something bad must follow. Allowing joy requires retraining the mind to accept positive experiences without anticipating loss or punishment. The pace of life often needs intentional adjustment. Constant stress conditions individuals to move quickly, stay busy, and avoid stillness. Slowing down can initially feel unsafe or unproductive. Gradually embracing a slower rhythm helps the nervous system recalibrate and create space for reflection and emotional processing. Relationships also play a vital role in rebuilding meaning and stability. Healthy connections offer mirrors through which individuals can rediscover parts of themselves that were suppressed. Being seen, understood, and accepted without performance challenges old survival narratives and fosters emotional integration. Creative expression often becomes a powerful tool in this phase of recovery. Writing, art, music, or other forms of creativity allow individuals to process experiences that may be difficult to articulate directly. Creativity provides structure to chaos and gives form to emotions that were once buried. Ultimately, rebuilding after constant stress is not about returning to who one was before, but becoming someone new with greater awareness. The individual emerges not untouched, but transformed. Their psychology reflects survival, adaptation, and growth, forming a foundation for a life guided not by constant threat, but by intention, meaning, and inner balance.